So we love this wine producer, of course, like all the other ones. She grows her own grapes. She has a domain that's in the foothills of the mountains, and it's called Jasse Castel. And her name is Pascal Rivière, and her wines are sensational. She went around this area where she decided they had the best vineyards, and she bought some of the grapes in this wine are 100 years old. She has 100-year-old Saint-Chinian old vineyards. Some people plowed them all up, but she wanted to save them. And so this wine is the fruit of her labor, saving the old vines and putting them in this wine, which is called La Pimpinella, which means it's an old Occitan word for a peony, but it's also an old Occitan word for the flirt. So a flirtatious girl or a peony flower. Take your pick.
How about a flirtatious guy?
Yeah. Flirtatious guy. How about that? So let's taste.
Yeah, and again, I think an excellent example how we blend grapes together, wines together to get more complexity in the wine. You know, winemaking is like amazing. Painting. If you have different colors on your palette, you can make a nice expressive painting. You know, if you only have black and white, still you can make a nice drawing or an image, but much more complexity here with the Syrah, Grenache, and Cinsault, the old vines together. No oak. I think it's amazing in this wine. There's no oak barrels at all. It's just the expression of the primary aromas from fruit.
Just from the fruit, yes. Just from the land.
And they will speak to you here in the glass.
And one of the things that Pascal, the winemaker, says is you can drink this La Pimpinella chilled in the summer. And you really can, because there's a lot of Cinsault grape in it. And Cinsault is one of the main grapes that people use to make rosé wine. But it's given a little weight because it's got these other grapes in it. So anyway, it's beautiful.
Very good. And again, I think with the food, you know, it's an elegant wine. You don't need a big grilled steak with the pepper sauce on your plate. No, you want some tasty food, which accompanies the wine.
But a big steak with pepper sauce is pretty good.
Yeah, well, we have different wines on the table.
This is their wine called Les Crés, and Les Crés refers to the rocks that are in the vineyard. And underneath they have clay and limestone, but on the top there are these rocks, and the rocks hold the heat from the sun and cause the grapes to ripen in a special way. So I'm going to give this to Marcel.
You said it all.
No, you can talk about the cepage.
Okay, well, we have some Mourvèdre here, we have Syrah and Grenache, classic blend of wines you will find in the Saint-Chinian area where we are now. Let me pour you see. And here we use a little bit of oak, and I mean a little bit because we use barrels which are used for 3 or 4 years already. So, and it's a big quantity, 500-liter barrels for 18 months, which seems like a long time, but you will see that the oak is not very present in the wine. It just softens up the wine. It allows the wine to micro. A little bit stronger in taste, you know. This you can have with some duck or some game, even no problem at all. This will carry a long way.
Maybe some moussaka.
That's fine. We have to try.
That's fine.
Is there any moussaka? Oh,
a little moussaka here. Yeah.
I would pick it up and show you, but I would burn my fingers.
If anyone has questions, so.
Or I'll ask a question.
Okay, great.
You were speaking about one of the female winemakers who saved her vines rather than plowed them under. How old would those vines have been?
She has particularly old vines, and there's something really important about that, which is that the yield, the number of grapes, the actual number of grapes that you get from an old vine are very few. Like each plant might give 16 grapes, whereas a young maturing plant might give you 60 or 100. So Pascal went around and bought all of these really, really old vines. So they only give a little bit of fruit, but it's super concentrated. And one of the things that happened in the Languedoc that gave it a bad reputation years ago is that the farmers were paid by weight. So when they would bring their grapes into the Cave cooperative where they were paid, it was by weight. So they were encouraged to maximize their production. But fine wine really begins in the vineyard by pruning and limiting the number of grapes that the plant produces, because the fruit is much more concentrated if it produces less. So she recognized that. So she went around and bought these old vineyards that were, I mean, really old. I think her Senso is 100, her Grenache is 60. She has a white Grenache, which is a really rare grape. So Marcel, what do you?
No, it's good, and it's much more work in the vineyard. So people who are looking for high productive vineyards will never use old vines because they take much more maintenance in the vineyards. But people who like good wine with character, they don't care about quantity at all. They just want to make the best wine possible. They love old vineyards like that.
Right.
So there are two armies working here, you know, the quality army and the quantity army.
The way they measure production in a vineyard is by hectoliters per hectare. And that is how much juice you get per hectare. Again, it's in hectoliters. And I don't really know the specific figures, but maybe 70 or 80 or even 90 hectoliters per liter is possible.
That's allowed.
It's
It's allowed.
high production. But when we're talking about these garages, these small producers, then we're talking about people who are producing 25, 20, 15 hectoliters
Even 15.
per liter.
So a fifth of what's possible.
It's a fifth of what's possible. You can do 90
Like
and still get an appellation. You can get 90.
it.
Rebecca, did you have another question?
No, that was really fascinating. Thank you so much.
Cool, fantastic. Let's hear it from the rest.
Okay, well, if nobody has any more questions,
I think it's time.
yeah.
I want to thank you all for suffering through this, because it has not been the most technically smooth production
Seamless.
ever, but it will get better.
We'll get better.
Get the track.
We're gonna get better.